Well, it's been 168 episodes over 21 seasons, 10 months of real time. Today we finally play our first game in the Champions League, and we're going to get a pretty good idea of how realistic it's going to be to win this competition in the next couple of seasons and actually complete the save before FM18 comes out. I'm terrified. Hello and welcome to part 169 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have two massive games. We're away against Valencia in our first ever Champions League game. Then we're also away against Chelsea in the Premier League. We'll look back at the Champions League in a second. I do want to show you how our start to the Premier League season. It didn't start great. We lost 5-0 against Arsenal on the first day of the season. We have turned it around from there with 3 straight wins. They are against lesser teams though, Everton, Leicester and West Ham. So both Valencia and Chelsea are going to be big tests, because I don't know if we're the team that wins 3 on the bounce, the team that loses 5-0 against Arsenal, or the team that gives the best team in the world, Man City, a run for their money. We seem to be a little bit unpredictable, which I guess is only to be expected because we've signed quite a lot of new players over the summer. We did grind out these 2 results against Everton and Leicester as well, an 88th minute winner and a 91st minute winner, so it could have been very different if it wasn't for late winners. But the Premier League does look like this. 4 games into the season, we are back where we're supposed to be, hovering around near the top of the table. And to be fair to us, after the Arsenal result, they've won 4 from 4 and have the best goal difference in the Premier League. So clearly they've got something about them this season. So it might not end up being as disastrous as that result first looked. We did make one more signing. So many of you predicted it correctly. I didn't realise there was this much of a cliche. I signed another striker. I mean, I feel like we needed one. I don't know if this is necessarily the guy. Zoran Stoyanov, 28-year-old Australian international, 41 goals from 107 appearances. He can play up front or anywhere around the midfield. 3.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential. He's apparently as good as Charlie Jones, better than Kerr, better than Alonso. He's been around the Premier League for a little while. Never really scored prolifically, but he does create quite well. And Newcastle spent 30 million quid on him. Everton spent 15 million quid on him. I think as a 4th option, or 5th really, with Jokic as well, at least we're not going to get ourselves into the situation where we run out of strikers this year. And I think with a Champions League, hopefully a deep Champions League run this season, and a proper go at trying to win the Premier League, it is important that we have backup players in every position. And I think we are in that situation now. In an ideal world, we maybe have one more midfielder. Oh, we also sold Scholes. Forgot about that. That's probably worthy. I signed him on a free transfer in the summer and was talking about how not sure if I want to have him actually play him, but he can shoot a Centurion. Well, on deadline. Oh, in fact, after the deadline closed. When was it? Yeah, the 18th. So actually, after our deadline had closed, River Plate came in and offered me money for him, and I thought, you know what? You're 33. We've just signed you on a free transfer. You've not come close to the bench in those first few games. I'll just take the cash. Thanks very much. So we've basically flipped him, brought him in on a free transfer on the 3rd of July, and on the 18th of August sold him on for a deal that could go up to over £8 million. Kev's a genius. So we do have a little bit of money left to spend in January as well, albeit not a lot, because we spent £21 million on Stojanovic. No, it's not Stojanovic, he's Stoyanov. I've got so many itches in this. Let me clarify. I have so many players whose name ends with itch in this squad. He's going to be Stojanovic forever, because I'm not going to be able to stop myself finishing it off with an itch. But please stop talking about it. I'll try and get his name right from now on. Before we get into the games, Champions League groups have, of course, been drawn as well. And this is the group that, I mean, the game is, you can tell with 21 seasons in, the game is properly slowing down this morning. We're against Valencia, Sporting Lisbon and Hibs. It's not the easiest group to get out of. It depends how good Sporting Lisbon are. Valencia are roughly equivalent to us. They're kind of a top four team in Spain, but have never actually won the league. They're kind of regularly challenge-ish, but they've only been in the Champions League twice in the last 20 years. So Valencia, similar sort of standard to us. It's going to be a big test playing against them today, but Sporting Lisbon, the team I'm quite worried about. We don't have the Portuguese leagues loaded, so we can't have a look at how good they are, but there's every possibility they'll be quite good too, in which case we might struggle to get through this group. Hibs we should be able to take care of relatively easily. But today's the big test. Let's see how we get on away against Valencia. It's going to be the biggest game of the group stages, and this is the team that we're putting out there. So we've got Vujicic in goal. A back four is Stretenovic. That's because Joksimovic is injured. He picked up an injury. He was out for a couple of weeks. He's only got a week left now. I was very tempted to keep David Roberts around the club. We signed him a couple of years ago. In fact, longer than that, when he was like 15, 16. He's been out on loan quite a lot recently, but he's actually developing really quickly. A 2.5-star left back with 4-star potential. He's 19 now, 8 caps for Wales already. But he's obviously got Sretenovic and Joksimovic in front of him. And when Joksimovic got injured, we were just about to let Roberts go. But in the end, thought, you know what? Roberts going to have one more year in the Championship. Next year, I think if Sretenovic hasn't developed, it might be time to move him on and draft Roberts into the squad, purely on the basis that Joksimovic is homegrown, Roberts is homegrown, Sretenovic isn't yet. Well, I guess he will be at some point. Does it say? How old was he when we signed him? He's only 19 now, and this is his 3rd year here. So, yeah, he'll be homegrown by the end of this season. So actually, we'll perhaps just convert him into a midfielder properly because he can play there as well. So, as I was saying, a back four, Sretenovic, Brodic and Ripert with Cutler at right back. I mean, that's a weird way to talk about defence. Have you ever done a video before, Kev? No? Midfield of Wanda, Caminero and Hayes with Esteban in behind, Alonso and Jones. Nuhu down on the bench, because you all love Nuhu being down on the bench. I mean, I don't see how I get him into the team at the moment. Maybe Hayes, maybe Nuhu could play in midfield. Nuhu just needs to force his way back into the team. He does weigh in with important goals. We all know that. But Esteban he's a better player, isn't he? Isn't he? Fernandez is fit again soon as well. He's been injured for a little while. But we're going to have another one. We've got too many attacking midfielders. Diothin is being rested. I mean, Diothin's played 2 games in a year and a bit at the club. You can hardly argue that he's being rested. He's just not. He wasn't brought in with a view to him being in the team. He was another one who was, let's bring him in for a year, get him doing some tutoring, and he seems to have just hung around. Both Flynn last year and Scholes this year figured out straight away that they weren't here to play, they were here to tutor. Diothin doesn't seem to have got that memo and is just quite happy to just hover around the squad but never actually play any games. Alonso with a header that goes just over. Kieran Kerr has now signed a new deal as well, so he's no longer unhappy. Nuhu no longer wants to leave. Our dynamics is actually looking quite good. The only player who currently is unhappy is Joksimovic because he still wants to join a team with a stronger squad, is the way he's worded it. So not a bigger club, a team with a stronger squad, which I think is a little bit harsh on his teammates. But then he was our first wonder kid, so perhaps he is at a higher level than everyone else in the squad. Wanda just wide from the edge of the area. We've looked promising so far against Valencia. Hibs are ahead against Sporting Lisbon, which that gives me some encouragement that Sporting aren't actually very good, because I can't imagine Hibs are just suddenly really good. So I'm now thinking we should be able to get out of this group and go on a little bit of a run. The job now is win the group. So let's go and grab a goal against Valencia in this second half, because I think an away win against Valencia, and that's pretty much the group 1 with 5 games still to play. Oh, look at the confidence from first 2. We're Nuneaton and it's our first year in the Champions League, and I'm talking like that. What a numbskull. And there you go. We've got our comeuppance. A total nonsense goal that's pinballed around that penalty area like nobody's business and somehow snuck past one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I mean, look at the state of that. Right, now we've got some work to do. We have got, obviously, goal scorers on the bench. Nuhu, Kerr, Stoyanov, Maestra. We've got game changers down there, which is one of the reasons why we've brought in these extra players. So we have those options from the bench. There's been so many times in recent seasons where I've looked at the bench in situations like this and we've not really had anyone we can bring on to make a difference. But now we can bring on Kieran Kerr and say, go on, lad, go make a difference. And then in a minute we can bring on Nuhu. We can bring on Stoyanov. We've got so many options down there now. That's got to be a good thing. Esteban plays it across to Wanda. Wanda to Kerr. Sretenovic is on the overlap here. Can he get across it? I mean, it's not going to be a Joksimovic level cross. In fact, he doesn't cross at all. Hayes plays it into Esteban. Jones was slotted through but wasn't really aware of where the ball was, and that's a poor cross from Cutler. And I think it's Nuhu o'clock. Let's have a little look. We'll bring him on. We'll just do a straight swap Nuhu for Esteban. Give Nuhu 25 minutes to... I mean, really, we just want him to get a free kick on the edge of the area and stick it in the top corner. A free kick on the edge of the area with Nuhu in the team is as good as a goal. Kerr. He's looked lively since he's come on. Now he's not sulking anymore. It might be time for him to force his way back into this team. But that's another ball over the top, and we're 2-0 down. Perhaps we're not going to cruise through this group the way I hoped we would. Although, this is... I'd like to think this is the only game that's going to be a challenge away against Valencia. This is like a blast from the past here. This is how we always used to concede our goals. We haven't been caught out like this for a little while, but yeah, that was pretty poor. Maybe we're not going to be able to go gung-ho 4-3-1-2 away from home in the Champions League. Like I'm going to change it. Doesn't matter if we can or not. We're just going to... Okay, Hayes is injured. That adjusts my plans slightly because we're going to have to bring on Maestra now. And he can't play in midfield, so Nuhu's going to have to drop back there. Maestra in behind the front too. We're going to swap these two around as well. Just because they're naturals in that position, so we probably should have played him that way round all along. If only someone in the comments had been telling me constantly for 2 seasons to play them that way round, or a season, or however long Jones has been with us. This is where... Oh, now Rypert's in. This game has been a bit of a disaster. Everything about it is going wrong. We don't have anyone... I mean, we've used all our subs. Who can we drop back to play centre-back? I mean, Wanda can play right-back. Can Coupler come in there? No. Can Sretenovic play centre-back? Can't. Apparently he's refusing. No, I think we're just going to have to play Wanda at centre-back. And hope he doesn't get in a grumpy about it. Just be a normal centre-back and defend. And then... This is far from ideal. Because we still need to be able to attack. Rypert needs to get out of the way. Just go up there. Go out on the left wing, out of the way. Thank you. And Nuhu. This is not good. This is not good at all. Do we go to a back 3 and just... No, we don't, Kev. It's the Champions League, you numbskull. Well, this game has not gone the way I hoped it would. We're bottom of our group. And there's going to be work to do. Jones is in and scores. I mean, if we can grab an equaliser and come away from this with a draw after this disaster, that would be remarkable. It's a nice finish from Jones. It's his first chance of the game, really. We've not seen as much from Jones all season yet. He's had a little bit of a quiet start to the season. He did miss most of pre-season with an injury. So I think it's taken him a little bit of time to get up to speed. But we need him to get up to speed quickly because obviously his goals were massively important last year. Top scorer in Europe. And we need him to do that again. Are we going to grab a winner? We've got 30 seconds to get the ball at the other end of the pitch. Not a winner, an equaliser. Learn your words, Kev. 7 minutes time added on. That does not bode well for the Rypert injury. Because that suggests he was lying down on the pitch for a long time. And of all the injuries that we could get, a long-term injury to him could be a complete... Basically, Rypert and Jones, I think, are the two that would be a complete disaster if they got long-term injuries. Because although, in theory, we have backups in the squad, they're not close to the level of those two players. They're two properly exceptional players that we don't have properly exceptional backups for. Let's have a look to see what the damage is. What's he done? Oh, no. This season just got a lot harder. Let's go and play Chelsea. 2 changes for the Chelsea game then, both forced on us by injury. Diothin comes in for the injured Rypert and Nuhu comes into midfield for the injured Hayes. Other than that, we are the same as the team that... I mean, we weren't outclassed by Valencia. We just didn't really look like winning, did we? And yes, I'm playing Nuhu as the deep line playmaker. I hear you all. I don't have enough midfield players. Centurion's injured. Yes, they're asking us about Kieran Kerr's contract, which I'm pretty sure he signed before the last game, so I don't know why they're asking us about it now. Perhaps he did he sign it after? I didn't notice it come up in the media reports. He's definitely signed a new contract, though. And, I just want to win this game. Everything had been going so well. Obviously, Arsenal game aside, we were on a nice little run. And then we lost Rypert, and I actually thought we might win the Champions League by the end of this save. What just happened? What is Vujicic doing here? I don't understand how this is a goal. Right, we're watching Vujicic very carefully. Oh my word. It's Nadat-esque. That's ridiculous. Well, the last thing we need, in light of current circumstances, is a run of poor form from Vujicic. Obviously, we have got Oliveira sat down on the bench, who we can draft him in if Vujicic is... I mean, that's 2 howlers in 2 games from Vujicic, which is something we've never really seen from him before. It might be time for Oliveira to have a... Oliveira will play in the next game anyway, because the next game's a Carabao Cup game. If he's outstanding, we might keep him in for the next league game. That's a good finish from Alonso. I like Alonso. Alonso is a different kind of striker to what we've got around the club. He's a little bit more... He's a more of a support type. I think he's more of a... He plays more like a Bergkamp style striker, with Jones or Kerr up there as my Thierry Henry. That's my favourite strike partnership of all time, Bergkamp and Henry. And I think with Alonso and Jones or Alonso and Kerr, we get a little bit closer to that. That's my thinking anyway, based on watching him play. Obviously, you lot will look at the stats and go, Kev, he's nothing like Bergkamp. Well, I watched the way he plays. I mean, that wasn't really a Bergkamp goal, was it? But he scored it, and it's 2-1 on 32 minutes, and suddenly positivity is back. This is great from Jones. So Coupler with the throw. Jones, I mean, he's got no right to make anything of this, but he beats his man. It's a lovely cross, and I mean, it's a decent finish from Alonso, but really, you've got to question the 3 Chelsea defenders and their goalkeeper who are all around that and all kind of leave it to each other, and Alonso just ducks in and taps it in. It's the simplest goal you'll ever score. And we're 2-1 up and suddenly feeling a little bit lively and positive again. It's Alonso again on the ball, gets challenged, and we now have to win it back in midfield. But it's a big ball over the top, and wow, we've been beaten by one again. Why has this come back into our game? I know we've not got Ripert today, but we had him in the last game when that was done to us. I mean, it's kind of between Brodic and Diothin. Brodic is never going to be the man to stop that happening. He's there to head away all the crosses and just be a lump. But that's where previously Ripert has been across to cover. Diothin is older, slower, not the same kind of covering defender, I guess. Doesn't explain why it happened in the last game as well. We could really do without goalkeeping howlers and becoming susceptible to the ball over the top again, because last season we didn't have to put up with any of that nonsense. We had the top scorer in the division and a solid defence. Jones has got 1 goal so far this season, and the defence is conceding silly goals all of a sudden. Oh. That being said, if we grab another goal here, we'll be joint top of the league. So it's a weird season so far. A very weird season. Brodic, not the man we want in that position. And obviously he loses the ball. But Coupler with a dominant header. Again, swap the 2 of them over there. We want Brodic winning the header and Coupler out wide on the right to get a cross in. A ball over the top again. But this time Vujicic does make the save. They've figured us out. Sretenovic plays it forward towards nobody. We need Joksimovic back in the team and pronto. Esteban's not playing well at all. And when we have as many options as we do in that position, we're not going to sit there and watch a man on a 6.4. So let's get Kovacevic on in midfield, and we're going to push Nuhu forward. We haven't seen Kovacevic for ages. Let's see how he's been developing over the course of the last season or so when he's not been getting any game time at all. But we're so desperate for players in midfield now, he's re-emerged. I want to get Maestro on as well, but not really. I'm going to have to either sacrifice Nuhu completely or drop Nuhu. No, I think we just take Nuhu off. No one... He got 10 minutes. Nobody is guaranteed a spot in the team. We've got Kerr sat there on the bench as well. We've got Stoyanov on the bench. I'm going to bring one of them on, and I think I'm going to bring on Kieran Kerr. Am I going to bring on Kerr? What type of striker are you, Stoyanov? A Trequartista. A bit fancy. Should we try try something a little bit different rather than bringing on like for like? Let's bring on something a little bit. Should we play him as a Trequartista? I mean, we've never used one of these before. Let's see if playing with someone a little bit fancy for 15 minutes. It'll either ruin our system completely or just confuse Chelsea into letting us have a goal. I can't believe we're playing with a Trequartista. You can tell we're Champions League big shots now. Wanda, forward to Alonso. Alonso, I mean, he's not showing his Bergkampness at the moment, is he? Oh, that's poor from Diothin. That's so poor. John Ferguson is watching on from the stands thinking, well, I'm back in soon, aren't I? Because obviously the Ferguson-Brodic partnership was a solid partnership for a full season before Ripert and Diothin turned up. So maybe Ferguson needs to come back in alongside Brodic. A draw here in the circumstances is fine. But let's not concede right at the death, and it's a free kick because of an offside, and that should be that because time is up. We don't even get to take the free kick. We certainly didn't embarrass ourselves there, but I don't like the way this dodgy defending is sneaking back in. We need to nip this in the bud. But we will leave things there for today. Because of time constraints, I am going to start leaving longer gaps in game between episodes. So normally at this point, I'd probably show you, we'd go straight to Hibs, but I think we might go a little bit further and just we're going to try and get this season done in like 8 or 9 episodes rather than 10 to 12, just to try and get an extra season in. So I'll play as much as I can, and then we'll show you the next bit, which will probably include a champion. Might even do Valencia. Perhaps Valencia up there all the way forward in November. Go forward 2 months. We'll figure something out. But if you have enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. I forgot what we did here for a minute there. It seems reasonable. And thank you very much for watching.